This is the second and the concluding session of today's proceedings. This is the meat, the crux of it, if I may put it that way. There are three critical components, honestly speaking. The first up is where you'll hear seafarers' voices firsthand. I mean, it can't get any better when you have masters coming up front and articulating their own perspectives. And essentially, so we have 4 masters representing 4 different member companies of MACN. So we wanted to have a cross-sectional view. And mark my word, none of this is orchestrated. We haven't fed them as to what they need to speak. But essentially, we are more than happy if they can be as candid and pull no punches whatsoever. Essentially, what we're going to do is I'm going to request them to come up on stage. And then over the next 30 minutes, if they can please express themselves as to what their perception has been about the experience from the port point of view, essentially a port user experience, pre the advent of MACN as of 27 July 2022, and post that. So I have the honor of inviting up on stage, and this is in random order, so please don't take any offense to this. I have Captain Amreesh Singh, Master of Teekay Tankers. Please welcome him. Captain Amreesh, please join in. Followed by Captain Aditya Bahadur. He's a Master of Seaspan Corporation. And then we have Captain Amit Belekar. He's the Master of the Anglo-Eastern Fednav fleet. And then last but not the least, we have Captain Sufiyan, Shahnawaz, Majeed. He's the Master of Express Feeders or Eastaway. So what I'm going to request the 4 of you is, this is essentially more of a monologue. So I will leave it to you to take it from here and spend roughly about 5 to 6 minutes. And you can express your candid views on this as to how you have felt, largely contextual to your experience in the ports in India. But please feel free, you want to amplify that and also enlarge it to some of the other ports as well. So over to you, and at the end of it, subject to availability of times, I can probably pose a question or 2 if you're comfortable with that. So please go for it.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I express my sincere gratitude to MACN for affording me the privilege to stand before you and share my experiences as a sailing master, both prior to and after the implementation of MACN's principles. I am Captain Amreesh Singh, sailing with Teekay Tankers as a master, my last vessel being the Luzon Spirit, an Aframax-sized oil tanker. I have dedicated 2 decades to Teekay, sailing with them since the very start of my maritime journey. Okay, so during my tenure as a chief officer, or even in my early years as a junior officer, I witnessed the immense stress that befell masters prior to port calls, especially in regions where port officials made their presence known in challenging ways. As junior officers, we worked tirelessly to aid masters in their preparations for port arrival and have a seamless port turnaround. Yet, despite our best efforts, port officials managed to make this process a challenging one. They often requested for facilitation payments or bribes under the pretext of granting inward clearance, which caused unwanted delays and financial losses. Unfortunately, back then, masters had little or no support and yielded to such demands after long hours of negotiations, irrespective of their validity, all to secure a peaceful clearance for cargo operations. Fast forward to 2023. This time, I found myself as the master, preparing for voyages to 2 Indian ports from the US Gulf through the Suez Canal. As I approached these ports, infamous for their historical demands for vessel clearance, I was the stress master seeking counsel from fellow colleagues who had navigated these ports in the past. Their advice often leaned towards meeting the demands for a smooth and a safe passage through these ports. On the contrary, Teekay, advised against all bribery and corruption facilitations. Now I faced a decision whether to succumb to such demands or adhere to the ethical guidelines of my company. The game changer this time was the presence of MACN and their guidance. Prior arrival to the ports, I contacted MACN outlining the vessel's estimated time of arrival. Promptly, MACN responded with guidance and assisted in preparing the vessel for the upcoming challenges. Armed with their advice, I focused the crew's efforts on safe navigation and I made up my mind. Upon entering Suez, which was my first port, upon entering Suez, various port authorities boarded the vessel and presented requests for smooth inboard clearance and swift turnarounds. I responded by pointing to them in directions of the various posters plastered all around the vessel, which empathetically stated, no demands, no bribes, and no facilitation payment shall be made. If the need warranted, we were ready to take the correct routes for fines and steer clear of corruption. To my astonishment, the transit through Suez was the smoothest I'd ever seen. Now, the word no held weight. The port authorities acknowledged the presence of MACN, which facilitated a seamless passage through the Suez Canal and onward, propelling us to our next challenge, which was the port of JNPT, Mumbai. This time, armed with the backing of MACN and its principles, I tackled these ports with renewed confidence, and I no longer needed the backing of masters who had navigated these ports in the past. Once again, I did my pre-arrival notification with MACN, and with their guidance, I streamlined our preparations. The vessel adhered to the similar principles. Upon arrival, casual requests were made, including for cash payments. But in response, the firm words, no, sorry, we do not allow this in Teekay. We are a MACN registered vessel, held immense significance. Shore authorities acknowledged the presence of MACN and knowing that our resolve was unyielding. Our turnaround through JNPT Mumbai was seamless and we set course for our next port of Kattupalli, India. The challenge escalated at Kattupalli, India as the pre-arrival paperwork was more intense and intricate. Nevertheless, with the backing of MACN and their guidance and maintaining our stance against bribery and facilitation payments, we navigated through Kattupalli as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I am overjoyed to share that our vessel navigated from the US Gulf through the Suez Canal to JNPT and Kattupalli without offering any facilitation payments or bribes or even a single carton of cigarettes. Over the past few years, MACN has played an indispensable role. It has provided guidance and resources and reporting mechanisms against corruption. It conducts trainings, raises awareness, and facilitates connections among industry professionals facing similar challenges. MACN tirelessly advocates improved port and custom entry procedures aiming to eradicate corruption opportunities. Through collective efforts, MACN fuels positive industry transformation. I stand here today a testament to that transformation. In closing, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to the dedicated professionals of MACN. Your commitment aids masters in abolishing bribery and corruption and helping us focus on the safety of our crew and our operations, our first and foremost duty, unburdened by the stress of corruption during pre-arrival formalities. Thank you.
Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Captain Aditya Bahadur, sailing at sea for 35 years. Last 17 years have been in command, and I'm presently sailing as a master mariner for Seaspan Ship Management, Vancouver. MACN, established in 2011 by a group of committed companies, maritime companies, MACN has grown to include over 190 companies globally and has become one of the preeminent examples of collective action to tackle corruption. MACN and its members work towards the elimination of all forms of maritime corruption by raising awareness of the challenges faced, implementing the MACN anti-corruption principles, and co-developing and sharing best practices. Collaborating with governments, non-government organizations, and civil society to identify the root causes of corruption and creating a culture of integrity within the maritime community. In my tenure on board ships calling numerous Indian ports on the east or west coast of India, we have experienced moderate to high levels of corruption, which is blanketed under the name of complimentary or gifts from the captain. Cigarettes and limited alcohol stored in the slop chest is rummaged for matching the inventories presented via paperwork and then demands roll-in for complimentary items, which can be as high as 40 to 50 cartons of cigarettes, 10 to 12 cases of beer, and a case of whiskey or wine. This practice is normal for the ship's local agent, mostly advising that this was being carried out on the behest of customs and immigration. Then commences the haggling of items on amounts and amounts to be reduced, which could take up a considerable amount of time of an already tired captain who has just completed a long and nerve-wracking maneuvering and might be departing in less than 12 to 18 hours due to the fast productivity of Indian ports. On a complete refusal for complimentary items from the ship's captain creates a hostile environment on board, and the agents will then advise how the captain has refused. Customs and Immigration will now board shortly. He will also further advise the captain that if they find any mistake or any issue on board, this will further delay the vessel. During this time of refusal to hand over complimentary items often leads to cargo delays, stevedots not allowed on board, as vessel has not been cleared for immigration. Stores cannot be lifted, officials are not signed off, we have personnel waiting on the pier not allowed to board. All this in a combined force happening at the same time only causes stress for the ship staff, especially for the captain. Ships today run on the clock, especially container ships. The products, the goods here have to be delivered at a certain time and date. And if delays are caused due to something as trivial as an argument over complimentary items, then eventually the ship owner suffers huge losses. Amounts distributed over a single call in an Indian port runs into a few $100s. But when multiplied over a period of 12 months for an entire fleet, these amounts are no longer trivial, and the costs now run into hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. We as seafarers hope this practice, which is ongoing under the curtain of gifts, is soon abolished, and we can arrive in Indian ports without the added pressure of delays and fines imposed on us. This is where MACN comes into force with their presence in India. This practice is now slowly and steadily stopping or reducing. Basis our pre-arrival notification for Indian ports and MACN involvement, this is now coming to a complete end. I take this opportunity to thank MACN for inviting me to speak on behalf of them for the MACN India curtain raiser. And on behalf of Seaspan Ship Management, Vancouver, we look forward to our entire fleet of ships arriving and departing in Indian ports in a seamless manner without the added burden of complimentary items. Thank you and have a good evening.
Good evening, all the guests here. Today I am here to present some mixed emotions, some experiences just jotted down on my part. So it is a vast experience actually to tell for the MACN as an experience where I have taken over a command of vessels of Fednav and Anglo-Eastern. So I just cannot tell all the experiences here, but I've just jotted down some of them and true emotions which come out of my experience. So I would first like to extend my sincere gratitude to MACN team for affording me the opportunity to share my experiences here on this platform. To commence, I am Captain Amit Belekar, currently serving under auspices of Anglo-Eastern Ship Management aboard the vessels owned by the esteemed owners Fednav. This year I have had a privilege of visiting various Indian ports. And I have also sailed on Indian coasting vessels here before in my whole maritime career. So I can easily correlate the Indian coast and the international coasting where the vessels on the part of MACN. After almost a decade, I received a voyage that one of the vessel I was captaining would be discharging a cargo at Indian ports. This news was met with the mixed emotions. While I was excited about the prospects of returning to my Indian shores, then I'm sure all the captains sitting here would be looking forward to come to their home country once a while. So I was also apprehensive about the challenges which will be posed by the corruption and bureaucracy which is generally faced in Indian ports, which I already had some previous experiences on it. Instead of feeling proud to call India my home country, I'm sorry to say that, being an Indian, but still, instead of feeling proud to call my Indian ports, I found myself concerned about the potentially devastating and demoralizing experiences I would have in the ports when, as a master, I arrive in the ports. I began preparing for this call with a heavy heart, lamenting the unfortunate timing of my voyage. It is a sentiment shared by many captains sitting here in this room that vessels calling and Indian ports are often met with the corruption and unnecessary demands, sometimes over trivial matters. It becomes a common trend to fabricate some faults and leeway exorbitant fines in the form of bribes. And desperate masters, crew, and owners are often forced into negotiations with the authorities to resolve these situations. However, this time it was way different than my previous experiences. It was my first experience calling at an Indian port since my owners and managers adopted the MACN policy. Although I had witnessed MACN effectiveness in other ports outside India, in the international waters, the policy. Just since the owners and okay, I remained uncertain about its impact in Indian ports. How it generally how it will work in India, because me being an Indian, I wouldn't have that experience in Indian ports. How exactly it will work with the Indian authorities. I initiated communication with the local agents and informed MACN desk in India. I received the procedure and emergency numbers in written from MACN, stating the details for tackling any demands, if at all any happens in Indian ports. Upon arrival at Indian port, my apprehension was palpable. Nevertheless, I had a faith in MACN to provide a strong support system in combating the corruption. Officials on board the vessel attempted to convince me that offering gifts is not equivalent to any bribes or a corruption. In accordance with the MACN policy, I diplomatically informed all officials and authorities that the vessel would not entertain any such demands or gifts. Instead, I assured them that such demands and gifts will be reported to MACN for further scrutiny and resolutions. Every official was reminded of MACN's presence, and the vessel was cleared based on its merits rather than through gifts, bribes, or any kind of demands. None of the Indian port authorities and officials chose, some of the Indian authorities and officials chose not to board the vessel after being informed that it was operated under MACN's policy. The vessel was cleared by the agents based on the declared paperwork submitted on shore. I was astonished astonished by the profound impact MACN had on the situation. I no longer felt despaired or helpless, thanks to strong backing of MACN. Also, I would like to share the additional experience from ports in West Africa, Egypt, Black Sea, and elsewhere. To my surprise, I experienced a Suez Canal transit, as one of my fellow colleagues also experienced the same experience in Suez Canals. So the transit, I have never seen a Suez Canal transit that processed smoothly without a master worrying for any kind of demands or unwarranted inspections by authorities. This positive change was also observed in Egyptian ports, which I recently had been to. And officials initially requested gifts, but upon being informed about the emission policy, they refrained from further demands and cleared the vessel without imposing additional conditions. This transformation can be considered a collective victory. We are no longer victims of corruption in these areas, as vessel and their crew are not now well supported in facing such situations without fear of consequences. I am now convinced that MACN is the key player in combating corruption worldwide. They have initiated a positive change in the industry, and the word fear is the only word that can deter such corrupt practices, not only in the maritime sector but also across all the industries. I extend my gratitude to MACN team for their contributions to the industry and their support in navigating challenging situations around the globe. It is essential that we all adhere to MACN guidelines without any deviation during the time of crisis to ensure lasting change. I would also like to express my appreciation to my owners, Fednav and Anglo-Eastern Ship Management, for their wise decision to join MACN. This decision has proven to be the most effective tool in eradicating corruption so far. While the world focuses on environmental concerns with the codes, conventions, and treaties, it is important to acknowledge that the corruption is a significant problem affecting the industry and overall progress of nation and humanity. MACN, I believe, is the antidote to this issue and should be widely embraced. Once again, thank you to MACN team for their support in saving us from the embarrassment of being associated with the corruption in our nation. And thanks to my owners and Anglo-Eastern Ship Management as well. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Captain Sufiyan Majeed. I am in command since 2011 and I am working with Eastaway Ship Management, which is under Express Lines. I have been here invited to share my experience before MACN and at present and what challenges we are facing. So I would like to share my experience before MACN and the present scenario, what we have faced after our company has become a member of the MACN. In 2014, I first called Indian Port, and I am calling most of the time Indian Port from last 9 years, East and the West. As Cecilia mentioned, India is a big continent. The East Coast and the West Coast are really different. You have a different formalities, a different paperwork, a different fear. And what I will like to put forward, the master doesn't fear for the authorities. The master don't fear for storms. Why they will fear for the authorities? What we fear is if the ship gets delayed, what will answer to our company? And whether my company will believe on me or not. So now with company coming forward, joining MACN and telling us, Captain, we are in support with you, just tell no to corruption. That gave us the guts to fight it, and we are fighting and we have overcome it very well. So it is basically before MACN or the company became the part of MACN, things were different in Indian ports. I told you I am calling Indian from last 9 years, the East and the West both. A lot of paperwork, what they say, port formalities. The agent which comes on the board, he is supposed to be your agent, but it is supposed to be some other party agent, which tells you on the arrival, Captain, this is the port formality and you have to do it, and all master has done it, you don't do it, then what you answer to your company if your ships get delayed? If you get delayed, if you are fined, okay. So what was going on, keep going on. So that was the mindset, what happened on a liner run. I call Indian ports with bulk carriers. Bulk carriers, send them once a time we call Indian port, maybe next time we have a different port. So we are not on a fixed run. In bulk carrier, it was a different soup. When they come, they know the ship has come to the first time. abstract as much as possible. Like for example, if you call to an Indian port, a pilot is asking for 1 carton. But if you come with a bulk carrier, he will ask for 10 cartons because he knows he has come once. He won't come next time. And he will show you the different rules. Captain, do you have this card? Do you have that card? Do you have this? Do you have that? So first thing is awareness. Are you aware of the port regulations? And that awareness will come to you from your company. And if you are aware what is going to really happen. See, we have a big change in our company. We have a management change. We have our SOPs come into force. They have told us what is right, what is wrong. We have a procedure to follow. If you have a deficiency, Captain, report. Don't hide. Immediately report. Report to us, report to that. So we cleaned up everything first. We made our paperwork strong, our ships deficient proof, and then we stood forward with MACN, yes, now we are ready. And we found, first of all, with MACN poster, everything becomes 50% done. When I joined my last ship in May, as soon as I joined the ship, the master told, now we are the part of MACN, and you have to, I'm handing over you with this. I told, what is this? So he explained me, this is the thing, and it is starting from today when you joined. So I told how it was before. Before was same. You come, you give, you go. So now you don't have to give. Oh, so I told it's challenging for me now. Yeah, you are the first master, and it's just started from today. We have a strict instruction from the office. So okay, I read the whole experience, the whole emails, communications from the company, the MACN communications and everything, and I understood what is the thing. The thing is, if you are right, tell them no. Even if you are wrong, tell them, okay, I am wrong over here, this is my deficiency, I have it. Inform your company before in hand, or your agents in hand. We used to send our pre-aval notification to the MACN, and we used to tell them, this is the policy, we are not giving anything. You want to check anything, you check. I am not smuggling monkeys. I don't have anything on my ship. Why I should be scared of you? If my company is supporting me, and they told, yes, Captain, we are with you, so I am ready to, I am navigating storms. I face I.R.S. Why I will not face the authorities? I can face. We need just a support. If somebody is there to support and believe in us, we are going to do it. And that's why the tide in India is changing now. After MACN also, we had, now with MACN, yes, things have become very good, very smooth. Though we get little stress sometimes, the authorities tries to come and try to harass us and try to put little pressure. Not that much, but little. It was not like before. Before, in Indian port, a custom officer comes. I'll share you this experience. They have been provided a camera. So when the custom boards the ship, he comes with a camera on, and all activities are recorded. When he's talking to the master, when he's checking the papers, it's recorded. With the IR authorities have given him, so everything comes in the record. They are not asked for any corruption. You know what they do? They come with the camera switch off first. They check, they scare you, they take whatever they want to take, then they go down the gangway, they start the camera, and then they come up, again do a formality with you for 5 minutes, record everything, and then go. So they know how to find a loophole. They come with a switched off camera, and then they again climb the gangway with the on camera. Okay, now in JNPT port, they come with a camera on. Why they are doing that? Maybe they know this ship belongs to MACN, or they know this company is a part of MACN, they will support the master. I never seen them coming with the camera off now. From the gangway only they come with the camera on, so you know that thing is done, they are not going to check anything. They come, they ask you whatever, okay, we are showing you. Narcotics, yes, I have. Cash, yes, I have declared. Captain, can you show? Can you bring it here in the office? Yes, I can bring, I can show you. One time midnight, agent called me, Captain, we need an urgent apology letter from you. The immigration is not giving us port clearance. I asked agent, what's wrong? Oh, your chief engineer has taken the show pass and he has not gone shore. Middle of the night. I told, so he has not gone shore, is it the offense? No, Captain, but you know, they are not giving port clearance. Can you issue an apology letter? Yes, I can issue 10 apologies letter. But I am not going to give, because when they came immigration, you know what they have demanded? Can anybody guess? As a complimentary, for which they woke me up middle of the night and asked me to give an apology letter. They asked me a coffee bottle, and I refused. I told no means no. Okay, but for me, it is okay. We can face everything. You make me up in the middle of the night. I will do what is required as per the rule. If no for corruption, means no for corruption. If company is standing with us, we are ready to fight. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that's as candid as it gets. So, you've heard them all firsthand. There was no, it's not sugarcoating of the bitter pill. That's exactly the way it is reflected. But I must add here, unfortunately, we're running out of time, but I may just add a few nuances of our own experience in the past 14 months. As one of you, I think, most of you did cover that aspect as well, that a prerequisite is that you need to conform to the law, ab initio. You need to be compliant as a master, because then you're not ceding space for someone to exploit. So where the opportunity cost comes to play, if you don't cede that, all is well with you. That's one imperative, which means, simply put, that your declaration should be absolutely spot on. I concede that's a very onerous task, because if you have enormous quantities of lube oil, etc., it's really a fairly tall order. But that said, I know of instances, I don't want to name and shame here, because that's not our endeavor. We want everybody on board with us to try and mitigate this. There are marginal instances of breach of the law. But in some instances, the officers are very gracious. They concede and say, fair enough, this is too minimalistic for us to escalate. But there are some others, and I don't want to institutionalize it. Let me qualify here as a caveat. None of this is institutional corruption. Don't get me wrong. These are few deviant, errant officers who are out to make a fast buck on their own, period. Nothing more, nothing less, really. The other thing is that you must stand your ground, clearly. And I'm so glad to hear, I think, master after master saying that if they have the company backs them up, I think they can absolutely not yield under any circumstances. So I think that's where the larger messaging is, that the company must, be resilient enough, supportive enough to the hilt. And then the tripod of that triangulation is we come in as the MACN. And trust me, we are not there just in the first voyage, but I can assure you there are several instances. Of course, I'm not here to spend too much time, but hopefully in the presentation, which follows another 20 minutes from now, we will demonstrate to you that we have time and again emphatically told the masters that we are there every time you come. So that in the event of a perceived pushback, if there is a backlash, if you think that first time around, if somebody has tried to be vindictive, next time around, if somebody says, okay, I'll fix you, I said, no, we are there every time around. I've spoken to a master for 13 minutes. He was absolutely on tenterhooks, on eggshells. It was not expected of me, but I called him up. After everything went well, the scheduled departure happened bang on time. I don't want to name the companies here in this forum, but I can assure you, I'm sure they'll understand here. The vessel sailed on the dot, and then yet the master reported back that he's apprehensive that next time around he comes calling because he's due to sign off, and then what happens? So I said, no, I think there's a time that I need to step in. I called him up and I spoke to him for 13 minutes. I assured him that you have my back, this is my number, please feel free. And lo and behold, he came back, and I'm not exaggerating, honestly, I'm just sharing an experience. He came back exactly a month later, nothing happened. And he signed off, he went back home happily ever after, as they say, But I'm absolutely certain that this is an extraordinarily tall ask and order. This is a bogey which is not going to go away anytime soon. But I think if we have the resolve and the commitment on the part of all stakeholders, I'm sure we'll get the better of it sooner than later. Unfortunately, we run out of time, but I must extend my deep appreciation and personal gratitude to all of you that you come forward, some of them from great distances, been with us, share your experiences firsthand. And I quite liked Captain Sufiyan. I think you were absolutely candid as it could get. And I mean, hats off to you as well, Captain Amreesh. Not to deprecate anyone else, my apologies. But thank you so much. And may I request my colleague Jonas to please come up and hand over a token of appreciation on behalf of all of us. I would urge that please spread the word around amongst your colleagues, to all of you, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are progressing fairly on schedule. I think that's a matter of comfort. I think that's as professional as it can get, really. It's now my signal honor to invite the guest of honor who's already here amidst us. To me, it is an exponential pleasure because both of us belong to the same civil service. Although we are 8 batches apart, but we've had a fairly long association. Though we've not worked together as colleagues, but we've known each other for long. And I'm referring to none other than Mr. Pramod Kumar Agrawal, the Principal Chief Commissioner of Customs and Special Secretary in the Department of Revenue, the Ministry of Finance, Government of India. Correct me wrong, if I'm not wrong, Pramod, that this is the only post of Principal Chief Commissioner across the country. So it's even more distinctive. So Mr. P.K. Agrawal is our guest of honor. And he is from the 1988 batch of the Indian Revenue Service, Customs and Central Excise, my own service, so to speak. He's held multiple senior positions over the years. He has also been Director General in the service, but currently I think he is heading by far the most significant customs formation in the country. So to hear that perspective is, I think, equally relevant from a public agency. So without any further ado, may I invite Mr. Pramod Kumar Agrawal to please come up and honor us with his address. So over to you, Pramod.
Good evening. Shubh Sandhya to my friends from India and leading captains, leaders of maritime industry this evening here present in this hotel under the banner of MACN-India. Today the curtain raiser event. Let me first express my gratitude to my dear senior colleague and now head of MACN-India, Mr. Deepak Sethi, and who has invited me on this occasion of the curtain raiser event, and that too after the 4 captains spoke about customs and immigration. You can understand me, the challenge before me as head of customs in Mumbai. Friends, I am really feeling very privileged with the first-hand feedback and experience sharing by these 4 captains before I start my formal this thing. Let me start with my own as a childhood anecdote, which I did in the last time also. The value system, integrity, honesty, how it is enshrined into the basic fabric of your value system, your culture, your civil society and all. I belong to a very, very small town, or you can say a village town of Bihar. I belong to a joint family system when I was quite young, a 10 to 12-year-old boy. My father, my parents, my old uncles, we had a business of trading. One of my uncles, elder uncle, was having a business of grocery shop, provision store. As you know that in a joint family system in India, when your uncle, when they go for some, outside your market area or outside your home for collection of the payment or for shopping of, larger quantity of provisions and all, that children at home, or if they suppose when I come out of the school and all at home, if I'm not doing my homework, I was, told to just supervise for 1 hour and 2 hours. We had 3-4 cousins also of my age, 1 year older, 1 year, younger to me and all. But all the time I was chosen by my uncle. Even his own sons were not chosen to just go and sit on the shop, on the grocery shop for 1 hour, 2 hours in between. And I was chosen for that. I feel pride if I remember that, how honesty and integrity pays ultimately in your life and the system. That system which I asked one of my uncle that आप अपने बेटे को, in Hindi I am just telling you, आप अपने बेटे को बुलाते नहीं, मेरे को पढ़ाई में disturb होता है, I am getting disturbed, I have to study, I have to complete my homework and all. He said, you do your homework sitting here. Just by my presence, there at that moment, all the staffs were absolutely following the correct principles, ethical practices in the same shop. And the moment my uncle's son used to come, same set of people, practices changed. Now you can understand why I am quoting this from my personal life as a young boy. This is the role of MACN. This is the role of MACN. How the value system changes when presence in individual or an institutionalized framework is there to support you, to guide you. I've heard very candid version from the captains. Friends, Ocean's maritime industry, the moment it comes to mind, we say oceans. Oceans not only connects the physical boundaries, ocean connects societies, ocean connects the value system, ocean connects the people, in bracket, belonging to various value system. And then we talk of here the international supply chain in maritime industry. Of course, I have heard only from the captains, but this is not only, that's only one segment of maritime industry. Sir, this is only one segment. Friends, if I am present here on behalf of Government of India, on behalf of Indian Customs, at least my experience with the Government of India as an, I can say, as a sevak, we call it, because my Prime Minister says a Pradhan Sevak. As a civil servant, prime civil servant, my Prime Minister if says, then as a civil servant, at least we have, I can say that we have evolved as a responsive, transparent and trust-based customs administration. How many of you agree with this? Please tell me very openly. Whether we have evolved in a transparent and trust-based custom. Just see the last 25 years, our growth and journey. Just see last 25 years. Same port, we have heard the JNPT when you have called at the port, and now the turnaround time and all I have heard. All the stakeholders, customs, I consider myself as the equally responsible stakeholder. Do you think that is only a small, whatever you say, that if you are compliant with the law, do you think still you need to fear? Still you need to have to part with some complimentary gifts? The moment you are aware, awareness is the one thing. Compliance is the other thing. If you are compliant enough, your agents are guiding you properly. Friends, let me tell you, I am here in Mumbai. Before that, I was in eastern part, Calcutta, during COVID time in 1.5 years. And then last 2 years, I am heading Mumbai customs operation at Mumbai port. Mr. Rajiv Jalota must be here, I think, this afternoon. He is the chairman of Mumbai Port Authority. I am on the board of Mumbai Port Authority also. Last, we have a system of resolution of grievances. At my level, there's various levels. We call it Customs Clearance Facilitation Committee meeting. Every month, Last 5 months, there has not been a single complaints or grievances in Mumbai customs, I can tell you. Not a single complaints and grievance. Neither from shipping industry, not any segment of the exim industry. Not from any customs brokers. And I'm meeting them regularly. If some of the Mansa agents, what are the Masa is there? Mansa, another association is also there. Masa is also there. If any agents are there, please let me know. I have invited them. Please tell me, send me suggestions on my personal mail ID. What procedures you want to digitalized, what procedures you want to rationalized, what procedures you want to simplified. I am committed to provide a transparent and technology-driven customs administration. I can say with my firm here. Please give me suggestions. I want not only me, for me, the most welcome trend will be my compliant taxpayer, my compliant stakeholder. This is my achievement. If I hear as head of customs here in Mumbai that, okay, my officers, yes, there may be some deviations. We don't say we are 100% full proof of corruption and 100% integrity. But yes, we have evolved and we are committed. I am thankful that on this platform, Anti-Corruption Network, Maritime Industry, oldest industry in human civilization known to the mankind, oldest logistics industry of the mankind, water navigation. I think my forefathers and all were knowing only way of transporting the people and the goods were water. And today I am here before an industry leaders, I think, who controls the volumes of the international trade by volume 95% and by value around 70%. Friends, what else we require? If we are able to remove corruption from this one international maritime industry, we have won. It is not only the maritime is connected. I told you the connect with the people and the goods people with societies at international level, at the world level. Very important, we are connecting. It is not only that we have unloaded and we have loaded the cargo from the port, we have called the port, and then the moment we have departed from the port, our duty is over. You have connected with the larger hinterland, larger civil society in general, consumers, traders, other stakeholders. If we today if we resolve that corruption has to be removed, we have to provide a transparent, we have to provide a society based on integrity. If we resolve that our procedures have to be understood and simplified, then this will impact the whole world economy. MACN started in 2011, I was just hearing, and then by this time you have grown up to, I think, more than 200, around 200 members across, I think, more than 25 countries. People subscribe to and support to your ideas, your principles, that ultimately we want a corruption-free civil society. Because any kind of corruption in a society entails cost, erodes the basic value system of the society. I was really moved, I'm telling you, emotionally moved, when one of the captains said, when he was an Indian captain, and he was saying, I was ashamed of calling at Indian port and I was noted the word, devastated and frustrated. Can I have my friends? He is here? Yeah. My dear friend, I, on behalf of Indian government, if anything of that feeling, I personally apologize for that of your feeling. One of the captains said that body can be introduced, that when we board the ship, vessel, you have to have the body camera on. Now, any of the agents can tell me that if the body camera was off, please simply mail me. It will take 10 seconds on your part. We are there to support you. We want a custom administration fully technology driven and totally trust-based and transparent. Transparency and physical contact, these two things we are working day, night, I'm telling you, in Indian customs. I will just tell you in brief that how in last 20-25 years, what are the basics, and in COVID time, real was the test time for us in customs department. There were hardly any people, hardly any customs officer at the port and airport, but none of the cargo, none of the clearance was withheld for even an hour. And our officers were present, whether it was minimal or skeleton, or we were clearing on WhatsApp, or we were doing on email and all, that was our job. But we were clearing the goods. Not a single complaint of corruption during COVID time, 1 year, more than a year in India, especially in customs. I was heading that time Eastern Port of Calcutta Customs. I just tell you some of the customs initiative which we in last 20-25 years we have taken. You'll be surprised that how we have evolved. I will just start with, I think I have sufficient time. Time is up. Give me 2-3 minutes more, sir. 5 minutes. Because I was slightly, emotional after hearing these 4 captains. Because I had to, give my rejoinder for that. It was my bounden duty, being, belonging from Indian customs. See, so I had to give my rejoinder. Let me quote the 2 sentences, one from my Honorable Finance Minister and one from Honorable Prime Minister. Honorable Finance Minister, during the budget speech in Parliament, recently has informed that Customs Administration has reinvented itself over the years through liberalized procedures, infusion of technology. The faceless customs has been fully established. Customs reform has played a vital role in domestic capacity creation, providing a level playing field to our MSMEs, easing the new material supply side, constraints, enhancing ease of doing business, and being an enabler to other policy initiatives such as PLIs, that is production-linked incentives, phased manufacturing plans. The Honorable Prime Minister, at the launch of the National Logistic Policy, stated that government has worked towards initiatives like paperless EXIM trade process through e-Sanchit, faceless assessment for customs, provisions for e-way bills, FASTag, etc., that have been greatly increased the efficiency of the logistics sector. Some of the key customs reforms that endeavor to provide our trade partners, to especially all the stakeholders, especially the stakeholders in EXIM trade, engaged and to provide a transparent and efficient customs procedure to provide effective international supply chain is introduction of self-assessment in 2011, launch of revised AEO program. You must be knowing Authorized Economic Program, that is working on the safe framework of the WCO, and with tangible benefits like deferred payment of duty. We are revised in 2016, revamping of authority of advance ruling to minimize disputes and promote FDI, power to relax provisions For trade facilitation through Section 143AA, we have advance filing made mandatory. Advance filing, that is pre-compliance formalities, pre-arrival. In 2021, there are several, we call it in professional Turant customs in India, means that we are committed to provide you fastest customs clearance in our country. We are studying, we call it time release study, both in air and sea cargo. And also, in 2020, COVID has been a gift for us in that manner that we have provided a paperless, contactless and faceless customs. Now you need not come physically to custom house, you need not physically, only for delivery of the cargo you have to visit the port. So far as the port clearance and other formalities for the customs is concerned, whatever suggestions have been made to us, there are two levels of changes in Indian customs. You know, the policy level changes and the procedure level. We are committed here to procedure, but any policy level changes also through MACN, if you say, because we are an effective partner here, effective stakeholder in MACN to provide you and customs administration based on integrity, and we try to evolve in a very robust and resilient Indian customs administration based on technology. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And I request you to please stay back.
Sir.
May I now invite Ms. Cecilia Malatobrand, the CEO of MACN, to please do the honors and hand over this memento as a token of gratitude to Mr. Pramod Kumar Agrawal. And I must make a specific mention. He's been an ardent votary of MACN. He was there amidst us when we had the national launch on 27th of July 2022. He was also probably the only senior officer of customs who offered a ready platform of interaction with 42 of his, mind you, Group A officers, starting with assistant commissioners up to his level in the Mumbai Custom House, where we did a 2-hour presentation and sensitization. So thank you, Pramod, for all that you've done. Deeply appreciate. I'm aware that he's to head out early morning to Cochin. I believe you have a flight, so we won't hold you any further. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think as the peace tea resistance of this curtain raiser event, as a fitting finale, if I may put it that way, we will now showcase to you the body of work of MACN in India. And this is essentially to demonstrate the extent of work, both quantitatively and qualitatively, and also to sort of give you an overview, a snippet of the smart solutions, technology-based orientation of our work here. I think, I mean, I'll leave it at that, and I think I will invite my two colleagues who are part of the MACN Team India, Mr. Soumya Prakash Dalua, the project manager, and I have Captain Raymond Schroff, the maritime expert. So I think I will step in at the appropriate juncture. Over to you, Soumya. I think we can be seated here.
Good evening, everyone. I have the privilege to take you through a couple of slides where we have shown what exactly we have done in last 1 year. Most of them are already been covered here, but I will not take much time. So in a glance, you can see all three of us here part of the MACN India. And as far as MACN is concerned, most of you are aware what MACN stands for. We have more than around 200 members globally, and we represent almost 50% of the total global shipping tonnage. And we have a presence in 8 countries, including India. And since 2022, July 27, when we started the India operation, between 27 July 2022 till now, we have almost covered 30 ports in India. We are present across India, all ports, but till now we have received PANs from 30 major ports, major and minor ports, and we have successfully addressed all the issues being raised to us. In terms of our responsibilities, we are proud to say that we have been onboarded all the major associations which are present in India and take their concurrence for this collective action what we are doing in India for last 1 year, little more than 1 year now. And they have also shown their trust towards our activities. So in this slide, if you see, we, as I said before, we have reached out to all major associations and private sectors who are present in India, and all of them are onboarded. And I can just show these their commitment here. Thanks to them, and without their commitments, we could not have done what we have done till now. In terms of diplomatic missions and international organizations, last 13-14 months, we have reached out to major international agencies like Basel Institute, GIZ, and SIPE, which is based out of US, and few diplomatic missions which are shown here. And already we have published a op-ed with Denmark Embassy. The next, in this direction, we have also reached out to flag registries because we know this is a very critical component, and we have buy-in from these 3 flag registries which are shown here, and the maritime MOUs. I'm talking about the Indian approach. Though we have maritime MOUs for across the globe, but I'm just showing the Indian perspective, what we have done in last more than a year now. So if I put the key highlights, so in total we have done 49 engagements in last more than 14 months, close to 14 months now. And these are all in person, some of them are hybrid. And we have insisted that whenever we reach out to any of the stakeholders, we have insisted, can we also interact virtually the officers who are present in other parts of the India, so that we can propagate our activities and what we are doing in India, so that, because they are in the front and they are taking all these challenges day in, day out. Another significant achievement was that we have also onboarded 2 companies who are based out of India in last more than a year now. And we have also formed a steering committee. Already you have seen in the before the breakout session, before the break, there all the steering committee members were present, and they also shared their experiences with MACN, what they have done as a steering committee member. And this is a good platform, and we meet every quarter, once in a quarter, and we discuss, we take their inputs and try to implement in our activities.
So, ladies and gentlemen, so this is a key component of our engagement of MACN-India with the public sector, straddling a cross-sectional view of the Government of India, which is ranging from customs, immigration, port administrations, maritime administrations, port state control, and the likes of them. So, to supplement what Soumya just said, if there were 49 engagements with the private sector, we've had 14 very, very extensive engagements at the very, very highest levels. We've interacted with chairpersons of 13 major ports under the aegis of the Indian Ports Association. I've had the distinct privilege of also interacting with the Indian G20 Sherpa, Mr. Amit. It's an entirely different matter that we are civil service batchmates. That's beside the point. We've also met and interacted with the DG Shipping, the Commissioner of the Bureau of Immigration, at their levels, at my level, on a one-to-one basis, with the Director General of Health Services, the members of the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, the Secretary West of the Ministry of External Affairs. The idea is that we wanted them to understand that as an organization, this is the value add that we bring in, that we are here to stay the course, and that we are seeking their buy-in. Because at the end of the day, it takes two to tango, as the saying in English goes. So we need that connect. So that's exactly what we've been able to establish. As I've explained to you, there are two structured, systemic policy formulation changes that I have submitted to the Government of India. One, just to reiterate very, very briefly, was to do away with port clearance on a manual process, to digitize this. As I said, it's a low-hanging fruit. And Mr. Agrawal, if that could be done, that proposal has reached the CBIC. Yeah, it's absolutely, it's critical. And because that is a significant bottleneck, right? And if you monetize the delays consequentially, that's fairly, fairly significant. The other piece is, of course, rationalization of collection of information and documents. There are FAL convention procedures which have standardized and codified documents. So this is what? So this is an ongoing process. Ladies and gentlemen, the approach that we bring to bear when we interact with the public agencies is very, very simple. Coming as I do from a 37 years of erstwhile civil service experience, I'm mindful that this is an extremely sensitive issue. I can't antagonize someone, right? So I need to approach them from a constructive perspective. When I engage, I need to be solution-oriented. It's it's very easy for me to critique someone, pan someone, ridicule someone in the government. You know, that's the easiest thing, to demonize a government functionary. I've seen it all across my career. But when you go and I say, look, I'm here to supplement your endeavor. The Honorable Prime Minister wants zero tolerance of corruption. And I am essentially trying to ensure that I'm aligned with you. And I don't try and intimidate someone. So when I go, I say I'm neutral, I'm objective, and I'm a transparent body. I'm building that bridge of trust, which is a trust deficit, unfortunate, between the private sector and the public sector. That's a space which you come to occupy. Thank you. Over to you, Swami. I'll come back. Yeah. So this is, again, a USP of what we have done. This coincided with the fact that India's G20 presidency is ongoing, effective from 1st December 2022 up until 30th of November 2023. So we were fortunate in terms of a recognition right from the word get-go, where we were invited to attend the B20 inception meeting at Gandhinagar on 23rd January, followed on by an invite to MACN-India to be part of what is called as an action council on ESG in business, needless to say, environment, social, and governance. The governance is the critical component. Good governance is what makes or mars the reputational risks associated with business. It's not so much your bottom line and the top line of a company. At the end of the day, the perception management, how do you manage your perception about you as an entity, is all important. Because it can take one instance for you to come tumbling down from where you are. So we got on board that. We participated in all the meetings of this Action Council, some of which were in person, some of them were virtual. And I'm delighted to share with you that the value add which we brought was, we were called upon to make a submission of any proposal that we wanted. So I presented a 2-page document to the chairperson of this Action Council, recommending that in ensuring a robust and resilient supply chain, which unfortunately stands broken during the COVID times and which we need to fix. So if I said, if you need to get a handle on that, then apart from the slew of other measures that you need to bring to bear, it is equally critical for you to focus on getting your act together on the anti-corruption front. And I'm glad to say that this proposal was accepted. It has been suitably incorporated in the recommendations of the Action Council, amongst others, of course, I must concede. And this has been escalated to the G20 summit. And if you care to see the New Delhi Leaders' Declaration as of 9th of September, when there was a summit meeting of the G20, there in paragraph 6 of this 34-page document, there is an articulation, a significant articulation on anti-corruption. And there is a reference. So I'm glad that in this 1 year, we've been able to make our mark in terms of, it was wholly coincidental that this came along our way. This happened to be the G20 year, but I'm glad that we became part of that process. We were invited to attend the summit meeting of the B20 for 3 days, which we duly did, and that's what I said. So I feel that somewhere down the line, if there is something substantive that we can offer on a more constructive note, we're more than happy to do that. And I think it was an absolute privilege for us to get this opportunity. So, okay, please come.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure and honor to present to a kaleidoscopic composition of the most different varied value chain in maritime industry. So all that preceding slides that you saw, that was to make the help desk efficient and robust so that we give a proper service of MACN to the shipping community. Now here is the first slide of capability building, which offers the modules on anti-corruption, bribery, ethics and integrity for masters and crew, operating teams, port agents, as you can read it. Global Met. Of course, I still always wonder that integrity cannot be taught to anybody. It comes from inside. It comes from inside. So, however, an attempt is being made to change the old culture and cancel that culture and bring in a new culture of business integrity in shipping. Okay, this probably, most of you must have seen the slide. I won't make you suffer with the mundane integrities of this. Just give a sneak peek of this. Now, this is the way the MACN help desk is structured, and this is the SOP, which is divided into three sections, 1, 2, and 3, as you can see on the screen. It starts with the master sending a pre-arrival notification 72 hours before the vessel arrives in the port. As soon as he sends the PAN to the help desk, whether in India or anywhere, auto acknowledgement message is immediately generated within 3 minutes of the PAN. And it contains the advisories, about 5, 6, 7 advisories, which we keep on building up as we experience new incidences, along with a file folder with 4 folders in it. One of the folder is of posters, which somebody had just mentioned earlier, one of the masters. The second is the instruction, the advisory to the master, the port agents, and the ship management. And I think that's it. No, only those 4 advisories are there in that file folder. Now, this help desk is operated by 2 of us, coordinated with Sufiyan and myself. And we are not there 24/7. So to fill in the gap, we have partnered with ISWAN, which everybody knows, and I think Chirag Bari, I suppose, is there, one of the audience who's heading ISWAN India. And ISWAN is a bespoke helpline in UK, and the top UK number is, you can see, +4474. This is the number which the master can use when he is not able to contact MACN help desk during close of business hours. And the unique, this is the USP of only MACN in India. In no other place, I suppose, where MACN operates has got this kind of help desk coverage, backup. And they are operated 24/7. They have 2 partners, and they are proficient in 15 languages. So the master of any nationality can communicate. The member in ISWAN, he will note down his questions, and he will pass it on to MACN India, because it is not actionable by them. It is actionable at here in MACN India. Next. Okay, this is a quick breakdown of the port-wise, coast-wise pens received. As Soumya had just mentioned, it's about 70% on the west coast and 30% on the east coast. The more pens are there on the west coast because there are more ports covered over there, and Nhava Sheva has already crossed the century at 102. And on the east coast, the most utilized port for pen is Kolkata, where probably most of the carriers come. This is up to 25th September, from the time MACN started off on 27th July 22.
Thank you, Captain Srop. So we will show you that we have already started a dashboard of all the PANs with what we have received till now, and this is a very interactive one. So we want to unveil here now. So this is the dashboard of MACN India help desk. So you can see that the number of PANs which we have received till now. And this is a gist of all the PANs being closed and then incident reported to us and resolved by us. Then if you click, there are two buttons below. Report incident, if you click on report incident, it will go to the anonymous reporting page. If you don't want to, it's a post facto, or you have not used the help desk, but you want to still report the incident, then you can go through this model so that you can report the incident which has already happened. Then if you go to the dashboard again, front page, then the other button which is there, the visit dashboard option. If you click on that, this will open the dashboard. This is the dashboard of India help desk, where all the PANs which we have received till now is shown, and you can see if you click on the markers which are there, the pink markers, you can actually see the PANs received in that particular port, how many incidents reported to us. And we have not shown the name of the agency and the MACN member involved, because this is not it's a public domain, so we want to keep it at that level. But once it is available to the member, they can see their respective seats, and they can actually find out how many incidents they have reported and how many being resolved. And if you see the trend, from January onwards, the PANs received and the incident reported to us, the graph can be shown from here. So we are still in process of adding few more graphs and few more reports into the dashboard. But this is just a preliminary one which is available. I can provide you the URL so that you can check it from your mobile and from your laptop.
So, ladies and gentlemen, just three nuances. I think we're drawing to a close. One is, of course, it's my personal conviction that we need to go the smart technology way in whatever we do. I mean, the sooner we get away from the manual processes, the better for us. So in terms of managing the work, given that we are a compact team, we are a lean team, but we're certainly not a mean team, as I keep saying, by any stretch. But if you have to manage this within the three of us, I believe we need to pivot on technology. So that's exactly what we're doing in terms of a very tech-savvy help desk, as well as a tech-oriented e-dashboard. Hopefully, I think we'll be able to manage things better. The second thing which I wanted to leave as a thought to you, and this is for the masters and the others, which I did mention. We draw a red line when it comes to reporting. If there is a breach, if there's an infringement of the law, we politely get back to the company and the master saying, look, this is your can to hold, not for us. We can't be collateral damage because we can't derive liability. Yet, over and beyond what is expected as a mandate to us, trust me, we have provided advice at the back end very, very informally, in every instance, telling them what is the specific provision of the law, so that they're guided suitably, so that they're not misled. There is no miscommunication, they're not exploited. The specific provision of the law, let's say if I want to illustrate, what is the due process of law? What is the principles of natural justice? If there is a statement to be recorded, it's your absolute privilege to get a copy of that as a master. You can't be denied that. So we handhold them completely at the back end, nothing in the front end, to ensure that that's how we do. Finally, and I think this is a matter of absolute delight, and on this happy note, we can call it a day. We'll open the floor for discussions. In the 14 months that we've been around here, we've had 17 incidents reported to us. And I'm saying it with absolute responsibility and humility. We have resolved these within 4 hours max from the time it has been. When I say resolved, these are not closed. Resolutions in terms of would you believe it? We have got the entire amount taken by the officer returned back to the master. Returned back to the master with an apology tendered. In one case, two, and I don't want to name the agency, one case, both the officers involved were transferred out on administrative grounds. In 3 cases, disciplinary proceedings have been instituted against the officers. So the broader messaging that we want to do is we want to do twofold. One, be dissuasive and be persuasive and be deterrent at the same time, which is, okay, we want to play both the devil's advocate and also, say that, okay, we will go, we will be there to step in, but if it push comes to shove, if it means adopting a hard stance, we'll certainly do that. So with that, thank you so much for hearing. Now the floor is open for the next 15 odd minutes for an interactive session. And please don't get me wrong, I know it's been a long day. And of course, there is a bar and the food awaiting you. And I certainly don't want to come in your way, but that said, please feel free to pose any questions. Don't hold back. This is an opportune moment. This is your industry. This is your platform. Trust me. It's just that hopefully we are driving it. But please raise hands. We can pass on a handheld mic. Please raise a question. Please feel free. We have roughly about 15 minutes, if not more. I can see one hand coming up there. Yes, please. Over there, Jonas, on the right side. Somewhere in the middle.
Hi, this is Shaukat Mukherjee. Sir, while the deliberations were going on, I was thinking on behalf of the seafarer. Many of the seafarer came and mentioned that no means no, in the sense they turned back to their own parent companies for support. So my question is there a position or is there a possibility or is there any kind of training that can be given to a seafarer for them to handle the onslaught of the corruption on board itself without turning to the company, or is it always that institutional support is required from the company?
So my response would be twofold. One is there are standard operating procedures where you lean on, where you need to have dedicated teams which are the back end, the operating teams which lend support 24/7. I don't want to short shrift that or circumvent or short circuit that by any chance, because I think that's an established practice. But to supplement that in terms of capacity building, human resource development and the likes as training tools, as Captain Shroff did mention in one of the slides earlier, there are those 5 dedicated E-modules customized for 5 different levels. One for Masters, Chief Engineer, and the senior personnel. The second one for the port agents. The third one for the P&I correspondents. The fourth one, the critical one, for the operating teams. Because it's so important that they gel and they speak the same language. When a master is confronted with a difficult situation in the field, vis-a-vis corruption, then clearly the operating team at the back end must cover his back absolutely and speak the same language. So the 5th one, which we are happily unveiling on the 3rd of October, is the one for the next generation of seafarers, the young cadets and trainees. I'm often asked, why the hell are you scaremongering them, getting them, and introducing fear? Far from it. It's just a responsible behavioral change that we're trying to inculcate. It's not as if corruption is not there in any walk of life. I mean, let's not kid ourselves really. The fact, the grim reality, it is there. But the sooner they realize, to the point that you make, and I'll wind up here, is that the behavioral change is sought to be inculcated through this. But the pity is, and I don't want to critique any company, time and again, as we have seen in our interactions here, in the 49 engagements that we spoke about, multiple instances. Blissfully, there are companies, global companies, which are unaware of MACN, or the training tools and the privileges accessible are not available. So what we do is, we then go back to the India heads of those companies and say, look, this is available to you as a resource. Please leverage that and make use of it to good end. Thank you. Anyone else, please? Yes, please. I think.
Thank you. My name is Øystein Jensen. I'm Chief Sustainability Officer of Oddfjell, and I'm also on the board of directors of MACN. And I would just first like to make a quick comment on the session, and a very inspiring session so far, for me at least. And it's very, very encouraging for the work that we have done, and especially the session with the captains. It really touched my heart to see that also, because we are quite humble of staying in a dry, safe office in Norway, where I'm from, or wherever we are, sending out these kind of strong instructions to the captains, and they are the guys that faces these challenges, and we must do whatever we can to give them that support that they were talking about, and it's very encouraging to see that. So very, very happy with the reports that. So, but just a short questions. We get reports from our seafarers that there's significant differences in the different ports in India. Is the help desk available in all different ports? Will you support all of the ports of India? Can you say something more about
Absolutely. In fact, if you see that in the 14 months that we have been around, our coverage has expanded gradually. Wherever we've received this 529 PANs, pre-arrival notification, it's still not a very large number. Obviously, it has to attain critical mass. We are pushing the envelope, reaching out to the companies and saying, please do file, because we don't want to get blindsided by the absence of a PAN. But as Soumya did touch upon, we're covering 30 ports as of now. But that's correlated to the number of PANs received. So we began with just about 3 or 4 ports, but gradually as the PANs grew, and if you look at our 17 interventions and resolutions, they cover both the east and the west coast. I can name a number of ports, for example, from Hazira to Mundra to I think Kandla as well, going up to Vishakhapatnam here, Kolkata, Paradeep, JNPA. So we have never shied away or stopped short from intervening. So as I speak today, we are a completely pan-India character. So wherever it takes us, we will go there. So please be assured. Sorry.
Good
Yes,
evening
please.
once more. We did a survey about West Africa in our fleet. About 130 ships came back that they called MACN, and there was no response.
No
And-
response to the survey?
Yes.
Okay.
No, there was a complete response to the survey, but all captains came back saying that MACN response in West African ports wasn't up to the mark.
Okay.
And the question is twofold. Because we informed MACN, when Customs and Immigration was on board, somehow they came to know that MACN had been contacted. So the whole operation took a complete different turn with no help from MACN, and besides the authorities knowing that we had complained to MACN. So our DPA has requested to pose this question as to what is happening on the West African ports. Thank you.
Well, as for West Africa, I think I'll leave it to Cecilia to answer, but I'll come back to the Indian context. I mean, I have quite a bit to say about the Indian context, but over to you, Cecilia. Is Vivek around, please?
Yeah, thank you, Deepak.
Oh,
Should
yeah,
I
sorry.
start or you
No,
want
no,
to?
please feel free.
Yeah, hi everybody.
Why don't you come over here, Vivek?
Yes, I will. Some of you who
I'm
know
sure
me,
many of you recognize him.
I hope so.
He's the Indian guy in Copenhagen.
And sometimes in West Africa as well. So,
Good. What was the question about? The question was that the company sent out a survey form, and the survey form for about 130 said their experience was not up. I mean, MACN response was not up to the mark. That's the question. Captain Aditya Bahadur.
all right, thank you for the question. And if I understood the question correctly, you're referring to the survey that was sent out recently. No? Please, one more time, yeah.
Captains on the West African run
Yeah.
are not getting the required help from MACN when they contact you.
Yeah.
And once they've contacted you, somehow the authorities that are there sitting in front of us, they get a whiff of this call. So if they were asking for 40 cartons initially, now they're asking for more. That's my question.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for clarifying that question. In West Africa, the work MACN started was in Nigeria. That was in 2012. So again, it depends on the country. I would start with that. In West Africa, in Nigeria today, I can easily say that the number of cases that we have handled successfully have risen since 2019. It's the same model that was explained to you, the help desk. There is a team that is present locally, but it's also a little bit more mature than just a local team sitting there. The government of Nigeria today plays an active role in this help desk model. What that means is when a master or a vessel operator calls this number, or whether it's WhatsApp, email, the government of Nigeria responds real time and then is able to advise the master two things. Number one, gives you a verification of whether this alleged infraction that they claim is on board is incorrect or non-compliance. They will verify that if it's right or wrong. And number two, usually that is associated to a penalty. And I think many of us would, I'm happy be very candid here and say that that penalty can always be reduced if you can provide whatever you can provide. Now that has been addressed significantly since 2019. Today, I can say that there are 2 cases which are pending out of the 190 cases that we have handled so far since 2019. Now this is Nigeria, but of course we are well aware that there are other cases happening in Cote d'Ivoire, in Abidjan, for example. Recently there have been cases in Congo, in Cameroon, in Ghana as well. What's happening there from our perspective is that yes, we do not have a local partner, number one, to support masters and vessels and companies. Number two, what we don't have is a help desk. Of course, that also takes time to establish, but there is a work in play where we're trying to expand this model because it seems to work in Nigeria. We want to see how we can expand this to Ghana and the rest of the countries. So going forward, there's going to be a lot of focus on Ghana, Senegal. Some of you are sitting here would also probably recognize the challenges that we have in Senegal. It's around customs, and there is different kinds of issues. ROB declaration I can go on with that, but there is going to be a focused approach to see where are the bigger impacts, where do members operate the most, because that's very important for us as well. And the third important element is, are we able to do anything in some of these countries? Feasibility is an important element in how we approach in certain countries. If we cannot be feasible in approaching government, if we cannot address this constructively with government, that's going to be a bigger challenge. So yes, I mean the short version of your question, the answer to the question is yes, we do not have local partners and help desks in some of the other countries other than Nigeria, but that's the model we want to replicate if we can going forward. I hope that answers or at least tries to cover the question you raised. Deepak? Indian context, yes. I'll leave it to you. Would you like to be here? Please come. Okay.
So Captain Aditya Bahadur, did I read you right that you said that there are similar challenges in India as well? No, okay. This is not to say that all is hunky-dory, for sure. We are mindful of the extreme challenges that are here. But as I said, we stand committed to stay the course, and we will cover your back for sure, no matter what it takes. And as I said, there are instances where people have reached out on a Saturday, Sunday, regardless of that, and I'm saying it with utmost humility. It's part of our professional commitment. So we're there to reach out. Sorry, you have something to say? Yeah, would somebody please give him a mic?
So these sensitive ports that we are talking about in India, abroad, in the olden days...
How do you categorize what is sensitive?
Ports where
which is vulnerable to corruption.
Vulnerable to corruption. In the olden days, still it is followed in some countries where you have a lot of officials coming on board and owners actually put a P&I club official on board to make sure that the inspections and everything goes safe. The whole procedure of customs and immigration takes about 2 hours, starting for 30 minutes to about 2 hours. Why don't you consider putting an MACN official on the spot, right there, speaking on our behalf?
I wish we had the magic wand to position one guy. That's, I think, simply in the realms of, I mean, pardon me for saying it's fantasy. That's not going to happen. But to come back to the other point, about, I think, which is I missed out. Earlier on, you had said, what if somebody gets a whiff of the complaint? What we do is, please be mindful, there are 2 nuances to every complaint. One is a complaint if it is not identifiable, if it is purely anonymous. If,
Ladies and gentlemen.
sorry, where did this pop up from?
Excellencies.
Okay. Sorry, apologies for that. I thought SG is still probably not gone back home. Okay, sorry. To the point, please understand that in the government of India, and let me be very candid with you, there is a government officer, an errant officer clearly, and there is the other, the complainant. Now, if I were to put my hat as an erstwhile senior career civil service secretary, Government of India and Director General of Shipping, I would make sure that the officer is not victimized. Let's be fair, right? It's your say to his say, unless there is credible evidence. We're talking of the Canadian credible evidence, but that's a different story anyway. So I'm here on this credible evidence. The point is, if you want to pick holes on somebody, you need to come forward. In doing so, and in a minute I'll wind up, we do not reveal the identity of the person who complains. But please understand, for the life of me, I need to tell which ship is it, where is its location, what is the time. Failing which, it is not cognizable. How will the officer proceed? It's not a vacuum, right? It is in real time and real world. But we protect the identity. And the final point I wish to make is, all these are cases escalated at my personal level to only the senior most officer of the agency concerned. If it is immigration, it is the Commissioner of Immigration under the Ministry of Home Affairs of the Government of India in Delhi. If it is customs, it is always to the Principal Chief Commissioner of Customs. I consciously avoid getting into that. I know it'll just be a black hole. But in doing so, they are responsible officers. They're also committed. And many times they know that I can escalate it to the chairman of the Central Board of Indirect Taxes. So there is that moderating influence. Whether you like it or not, while we retain confidentiality, but we have to find that middle ground. That's all. So thank you so much. Do I take it there are no more questions? Or oh, there is another gentleman there. Sorry. Yeah. Yep.
I'm sorry if I delay the
No,
drinks,
no.
but
No.
thank you very much for a very inspiring session today.
Thank you.
And
You're welcome.
it is great to see the progress made by MACN on behalf of the industry, with in particular the help desks. And speaking to our masters, their reports correspond very much with the stories we heard today. Suez has become much easier. India has become a little bit easier. Not so many direct requests, but there is uncertainty. Where is the limit for how long time that can be used on scrutinizing declaration lists? And yes, they need to be in compliance with the law, but to which detail does that apply? If there are soft drinks outside the bonded stores, is that enough to start counting the entire inventory again, delaying the vessel? So I think it would be great to have some guidance on what is okay and what is over the top when it comes to time for and level of scrutinizing.
Thank you. The point is well taken. Unfortunately, what happens is, if you look at the Customs Act, 1962, I mean, that's something which I grew, like a baptism of fire for me when I began my journey as an Assistant Commissioner of Customs. So from then on, we can't leave a discretion, because discretion is exactly that playbook for a deviant officer. That said, common sense and the officers are told through informal SOPs, marginal infractions are not to be taken note of. Now, what is marginal is anybody's guess. And I wouldn't want to hazard a guess on that, right? But common sense would dictate that if the commissioner is, or he or she is worth his salt, they would put a full stop to that nonsense then and there and say, no, you cannot do that. But as I said, if you report it to us that there's a delay on this, we've had a particular case where flower pots imported earlier. This was, I think, which one is it? Hazira port. Flower pots, for God's sake, imported and brought in a vessel. And it was there in the masters and some other cabins. So the officer said, what is this? And I will not allow it. I mean, this is penalizable. So they got in touch with us. I guided them the customs provision. I said, for God's sake, there's nothing at all. So sure enough, they asked us to draft a response. I said, no, we will not draft the response. It's your baby. But then they drafted it and sent it us. I vetted it. I got back saying that these are the other parameters that you build in. And sure enough, that was it. The matter ended, the matter rested at that. So there is no let's say a typical archetypal playbook here. I think it's entirely case to case basis. But suffice to say, we are there to handhold you every time that you come around. Thank you so much. I think we have probably run out of time. I mean, maybe the last, I'll have to apply the guillotine. Pardon me for being harsh.
This is just to extend a thank you to the team here because...
Oh, no, thank you so much.
Because I think we had a recent interaction within the Synergy group, and post that we had an incident which you just mentioned.
That's the one. That's right.
And our mistake was what? That the master had not filed the PAN. So you were not aware also that the vessel was there. But you still took the case up, and thanks to these two guys and you, and the matter was resolved very amicably. So
no, thank
you so much.
No,
even
no,
though
appreciate.
we did
No,
not,
thank you. No, nothing. It's no big deal. It's part of our duty.
Yeah, our master did not file the PAN, and this was one of the group vessels.
No.
So I was also not aware. But thanks to you guys.
No, you're welcome. Thank you so much.
And there was no penalty. It was reduced substantially, and it was a stupid case of just ornamental plants on a vessel which we had just recently taken over. And the master was, I think, the Thai nationality, very jittery, very nervous.
Sure.
And
No big
gave
deal.
him
I mean,
the confidence,
it's part
and
of our
he came
duty.
back and he told that great work by you guys. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. So finally, I want to say that I keep saying, I know it's in a lighter vein, it's a cliche. We are not here to walk the ramp. Trust me, we are not here to sashay and say, I want to model and become the most popular guy, right? At the end of the day, if we pick up flack in what we do, so be it. Finally, it's our conviction and resolution that we will stay the course. And I think a huge thank you to all of you, because but for your support, this journey would not have been, it would have been awfully painful for us as well. So my urge is please propagate the requirement for PANs to be filed, incidents to be reported in time. We've done, even in post-mortem cases, we've intervened. But that makes it even more exponentially challenging. So on that note, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Deeply grateful to you for gracing this and spending your valuable time. I'll now request my colleague Jonas Erlandsen to do the final honors of the vote of thanks. And thank you so much.
Please, all of you stay. I'll call you up in 50 seconds anyways. So thank you everyone for attending. It's been a wonderful journey today. I myself have a huge appetite for anti-corruption, so I could sit here another couple of hours if you're allowed. I'm also a keen listener of our senior advisor, Mr. Deepak Shetty. I'm sure some of you are wondering how we got here when we are only represented by 3 people in the country. Now, what does it take, and how do we manage with 3 resources? And in this instance, I want to remind you what the Danish ambassador said, that this is something that is within all of us. And all it takes is a commitment to the cause. And we as a team find that we have unlimited resources. And we've been shown this in India, that it's not just the resources within our team, it's the resources in all of you. Now, I'm the senior lead of South Asia, and what does that mean? I'm the anchor in Copenhagen for this wonderful team we have here in India. And I've seen the development since our launch event last year, and how these 3 untirable souls have worked to bring us to where we are today. Briefly, I started thinking when Cecilia mentioned that we call it a curtain raiser event, and last time we called it a launch event. And what are we going to call it next time? Beginning event or the new event? I see that what we are doing here is a never-ending effort
to work on anti-corruption in India. So it will always be a new beginning, and there will never be an end. Lastly, I will ask our secretariat team of Copenhagen come to the stage so you can see the team that works collectively from MACN side to abolish corruption in India. MACN Secretariat, please come to the stage. So the next 2 days we'll do our member meeting, and we have all your member representatives that has joined here today to make it a great success as well. Counting 200 and some registered. This is the team behind the scene, and I want to appreciate all of you. Thank you all of you for helping setting up this event and making it happen.